Okay, hi, I am, by this point you'll know me as Retro Red.
Or Jon.
Or Jon. And you are?
Robert, or I guess Retro Black is what we decided on?
Yes, you're Retro Black.
Okay.
We're from Gaming Sentai, Retro Rangers.
And today we're doing a retrospective on one of our favorite series of all time. And if you haven't figured it out, we're doing it on Final Fantasy. So...
I don't think it's that final anymore.
It hasn't been final since the first one.
Well, that's true. Speaking of the first one.
Yes.
The first one, there was an awesome comic made about it called 8-Bit Theater. And you were 4 heroes of light that were told to cross you couldn't even get a title screen or what the hell was going on until you killed the first boss and crossed the King Steve Bridge, as it's known in 8-Bit Theater.
But what did Final Fantasy bring to the Japanese role-playing genre? Do you know?
Turn-based strategy?
No. That had been around since Dragon Warrior, or Dragon Quest. No, it was the first one that let you pick your classes that wasn't a Western English version of Wizardry or Ultima.
Basically Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, essentially.
It was basically Dungeons and Dragons, but it wasn't Dungeons and Dragons.
But the first game in the series is one that holds I wouldn't say special place for me, because I remember being frustrated as hell with the first one.
Marsh Cave?
Actually, it wasn't the Marsh Cave. It was the general, because, remember, my true introduction was 3. But I had the first one, but I never really sat down and played it till after my cousin brought over his Super Nintendo and brought over 3. And I got to play 3. And then I went back and was like, I've got one of those. And I put it in. And you want to talk about a step back? The most aggravating thing in Final Fantasy, the original, has to be the non-autocorrect on the swing.
Yep.
You swing at air! You swing at air! You swing at air! That and the White Mage was all but useless until like middle game when,
someone had to heal you.
Someone had to.
And Red Mage was good, but after a while, Red Mage he didn't cut the beef after a while.
So what do you remember about the first game?
I remember because the first time I played it was on an emulator.
Evil.
Hey, you know what? It was about the point I didn't have my Nintendo until I didn't get another regular Nintendo until my 20s. So I didn't have any regular Nintendo games. The only way I had to play stuff like that was emulator. So you do what you gotta do. It's like, trying to rub fire together to rub wood together to make fire,
Rub fire?
But yeah.
Rub fire, Jon.
Yes, rub fire. And that's so an outtake.
No, we're letting that one roll.
Oh. But the Marsh Cave. And leveling up for the Marsh Cave. Was leveling up for the Marsh Cave because the player's guide recommended you be level 12, if I remember, 12 or 14 to go into the Marsh Cave successfully.
And that's right after you go to the elf place, isn't it? So you stand outside the elven city and fight ogres until you are tired of seeing ogres.
Yeah.
Ogres and creeps.
Mm-hmm.
Way too much purple fighting.
Yeah, you fought them for so long, and then you leveled up.
And then you get into the Marsh Cave, and it's just like, I don't play this anymore.
You were level 5 or 6 by the time you got. I was normally level 5 or 6. I'm normally 5 or 6 by the time I get there. So that's about 6-7 levels worth of level grinding hell.
It depends, and I mean, as you can see, we have a vast collection here. But for the first one, we've got the original. And the strategy guide behind it, and both of us have the strategy guide, but yours is in far better shape than mine. There's the PlayStation re-release there of Origins, and then there's a very needs to be cleaned, but a Final Fantasy GBA Dawn of Souls, because all my GBA game boxes are lost. They're gone.
They ran away.
No, they got lost in the flood. When my apartment flooded.
No, it didn't put it in the art then.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, the first Final Fantasy was a game that's really hard to play. Even today, if you're not playing an updated version of it...
We're in easy mode.
I'm not even referring to easy mode. I could care less about the easy mode. I just don't like the fact that, I'm having to sit here and literally... this one did not age as well as you would think it would. I mean, I'm not even talking graphically. I'm just...
Playstyle?
It's slow.
It is.
You have to buy your spells, and you have... and your spells that you can buy are based upon who's in your party, and you know what works for early game doesn't always work for late game. I mean, the only two staples that you're absolutely gonna have for the most part is a fighter and a white mage, and everything else is optional.
Yeah.
And that's because the fighter eventually becomes a paladin of sorts.
And can learn Cure.
Yeah, and the white mage just gains one of the more powerful spells in the game. And
That and they actually get a real weapon towards the end, Thor's hammer.
yes, they do.
Which casts lightning too, is black magic. Good
Yep.
times.
Yep.
But by that time, lightning 2 is almost useless, but still it's better than nothing. It's still an attack.
It's still an attack. And, I mean, black mages are still powerful, but, like, early game monks are great.
Yeah.
I mean, once they start getting to where they're hitting 5, 6 times and they're doing more damage than the fighter, but after the class level up, they don't change much. What really works great, if you can deal with it early game, start with a thief and get the ninja.
Yeah, that's usually my class was fighter, white mage, black mage, thief. Because
And the thief is just horrible through up until class change.
Well, he gets black magic, fighter gets white magic, it
Yep.
evens out in the end.
And the red mage is useless.
Unless they know level 9 ice, basically, yeah.
But outside of the first game, the first game is what it is. And
It's gaming history is what it is.
yeah, it is. I mean, we wouldn't have this if that wouldn't have come out. And honestly, we wouldn't even have that if something else hadn't come out.
True. Fair enough.
So,
Let's go and move on to 2 then.
yeah. So, also, and I don't really have a definitive Japanese version of 2, but 2 is the one, it's honestly it's not a bad game, but it's clearly a dark horse. I'm not a fan of 2.
I played it. It's one of those I played maybe 30 minutes, hour total, because
the leveling system is weird. There's no
weird.
real leveling
It's
system.
It's abusable as heck, but
It
still.
is, but to abuse it, you have to put hours into it.
Or be mad.
Yeah, pretty much.
Be mad.
Be mad. But 2, I don't really have a whole lot to say about 2 because again, it's they really tried the storyline. I like the whole outcast of the empire and all that, but it's just that leveling system and the way it works.
Mm-hmm.
You're having to expend MP to get better at magic in a game where you don't start with any MP. And so if you want a mage, you've got to have that mage constantly doing mage stuff. If you want a fighter, you have to have that fighter constantly doing fighter stuff. Yeah. And they get so... And it's not like I just do it to get better at it so I can have an all-around character. There are no all-around characters in that game. Because you can't do it. Not without being mediocre.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty much the only one that's going to have anything to say about 3, aren't I?
Yeah, because I don't play I'm not a handheld person. I'm just not. I don't get into them typically. And I haven't actually played 3. I've not.
Well, you've got a phone now.
I'm a bad person.
You can get it on your phone.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
The DS version plays on? Fair enough. It's something to do while I'm at work or at school.
Yep.
So I learned something at school today, kids.
You learned that you could play Final Fantasy 3 on your phone. But Final Fantasy 3, of course, was one of those. Was the first introduction of a job switching system.
Job class.
The job class system, which they actually pulled from the Dragon Warrior series. But yeah, with Final Fantasy 3, I've played emulator versions of it, but I never really played it until it came out on the DS. And the DS version's actually pretty fun. I like the fact that we have a distinct... Unlike the first game, we have distinct characters. They don't have any characteristics, but we have distinct characters. We have names, we have things, and the game actually is challenging without being punishing. It's not the first game where, there's that one hallway and that one dungeon where walking down the hallway is enough to... It's every step's a fight. There's none of that. And there's a okay storyline to it. It's basically the crystals are shattering, you're getting the jobs from them, and that's what's happening. But it's fun. I like some of the stuff they did with the DS version, and I one day I'm going to play a non-emulated version of the third one.
Well, they do make it on repos. Just saying.
Oh, I know, but I'd rather have other things from reproductions. Because and then after 3, we have the American 2 and 4, and here's where all of us are going to have something to start saying, because all of us have, everyone here has played this, or me and you, and then people that game with us have probably played, or that go out with us have probably played this.
Oh yeah.
But as you can see, we have John's beautiful boxed version, we have my DS version, and we have the Chronicles and the GBA version.
GBA version's the one I want.
GBA version's good.
Because you actually get to pick your ending party too, from what I understand.
To a degree, this is the one you actually want.
Really?
This one you can transfer skills from other classes over to other characters.
Right. I don't know. I like the idea of being able to use like the characters you lost throughout the game.
Oh, you get that. You get that in this.
Oh, you do get that?
Mm-hmm.
No, okay.
And this one is this one you get crystals that let you. The DS remake of 4 is actually like 4 was never high on my chart. It was a good story, but it was a very long and tedious game to play.
Right.
And some of the characters didn't feel like they worked when you got them. Like Edward.
The Bard.
You had to have Edward.
Spoony Bard.
And he did
Spoony
for
Bard.
what he did. Yeah. Spoony Bard.
Spoony Bard.
And that wasn't even a Woosleyism.
Oh. But
I mean, and then you end up with Edge, and Edge is just an item holder. But if you're anywhere good at 4, Edge sucks.
It's been so long since I played it. Who the heck was Edge?
Edge is the last character you get.
That was the thief, Prince guy?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
He is horrible. He gets a throw skill that doesn't do anything unless you throw super expensive items, and so ultimately he just becomes a item user because he's out-damaged by Cecil and Kane.
Yeah.
He's out... Rosa and Radia can heal.
Right.
And Radia can out-damage him. And Rosa can out-damage him with a bow. So, what good is he? And he doesn't get good armor, so he's got to be in the back.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but...
I don't know. It was still a good game. It had a good story. It was fucking hard. Because, let's be honest, hey, you spent a few hours leveling with this guy. You don't need that guy anymore. Now, you spent so much time on him, we're just going to take him away. And in the Super Nintendo, or in the earlier versions before the GBA, you don't really get him back either. You just wasted your life away.
Yep.
And if you do that with the next few guys, we're going to take them away too, because I'm Spider-Man, basically. No, fuck you.
Yeah, pretty much. It was every character effectively dies, but they come back, but they don't die, but you don't get them.
And how did Sid not die? He strapped a bomb to his chest.
And jumped into a volcano.
What? I guess his manly beard protected him. His manly beard wrapped around him and performed a shell over his body.
I mean, Tella sacrifices himself.
Yeah, and he's the only one that actually dies.
Depending on the version.
Does he actually come back too?
I think in the DS version you can get him back, or you get his spells in the DS version.
Okay, the spells make sense.
Okay.
But the actual, I'm just gonna, kill over and stuff,
And then of course you have the moon guy, Fusharu, or whatever his name is.
Are you talking about?
You get him for like a few minutes towards the very end of the game.
I don't remember.
He is a fully armed black mage, and you use him up until like the final fight.
I don't remember. It's been at least 6 years since I played. It was before it's been at least 7 years since I've played all the way through 4. Just saying. So, I lived at Curtis's then.
When was the last time I played through 4? I think it was the GBA version, because I've not finished this one.
Okay. And then I guess we're on to 5 now. So.
Yep, and 5 is the another one of those bastard child games. It's a fun game. It plays like it plays like a Super Nintendo Final Fantasy with a job system and the most wonky story ever.
I played the first 30 minutes of it.
So you got the wonky story. A meteor crashes, it shatters the crystals, you get jobs, then suddenly you're off planet. That's the first 30 minutes. I mean, seriously, you are off planet by the first...
Something like that.
It's early. I mean, I gave up on 5 on the second planet shift, and I was just kind of going, what?
What are you talking about? So we really don't have too much to say about 5 here. Now, The next 2 or 3, the next 2 at least, we're gonna have a lot to say about.
So yeah, but I mean, 5's fun. I like the job system. I don't like a lot of what it did storyline wise. I didn't like the main character. He didn't really feel like a main character. The supporting cast had more personality, and they kind of pull a 4 with the 5th one that most people don't realize is I can't remember which one of them you lose, but you lose one of the characters in 4 that gets replaced by another character that's pretty much the exact same character. So. Or not really, but it is. But I don't know. The problem with 5 is that you get base personalities, and then they're whatever you need them to be.
Yeah.
Now, certain ones fit better. Depending upon the version, like the GBA version, I think they have different stat lines.
Something like that.
And as you get better in certain classes, certain stat lines carry over, and so you can ultimately have gods by the end of the game. But
That's why those things always end up. It's the way it's supposed to end up.